Good evening, everyone. Pat Stevens here for AMG 460 VL1. This is for my taped interview. Before I get into the interview, I would like to give you a little bit of preface for this, for what I'm going to do. I have a friend that I went to school with many years ago, and he is currently employed in this area. So we sat down together, we worked through some interview questions, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to recount for you in interview format just exactly what we discussed. So I thank Chuck for doing it. He was an excellent resource. And here we go. One of the first questions that was asked was what makes me qualified to be a web designer? As I've discussed with him, talking about the experiences that I've gained through this class, through the marketing pieces, in the program as a whole, it has given me skills that I did not possess before. Obviously, with web marketing, there are different aspects that we need to consider. One of the other questions he had asked was, would you prefer to work with a outside third vendor that hosts a website, or would you prefer to work for a company that actually has their own server? My comment to him was, or I should say, I would prefer to work with a company that has their own server because it gives us better control over the quality of our product. One of the other questions that was asked was, would you consider, if you have a third-party vendor, would it be acceptable for them to use open source architecture for their server, or would you use open source architecture for your server as well? That is a good question. Obviously, if we're going with a third-party vendor, that would be entirely up to them. Looking at it from a company standpoint, if we were to have our own server, I would not be opposed to having open architecture or open sourcing, I should say. I would be okay with that. But the caveat to that answer is one huge concern with security. And security overall is going to be a big concern, whether we have the server, whether a third-party vendor has a server. But the point is, for the security, we need to make sure that our website does not fall victim to a hacking attack. We have to make sure that we do not get roped into any botnets, anything like that. So security would be huge. I'm not opposed to the open source architecture, but the security would be a major portion regardless of whatever route we went. In that vein, the other thing to consider is, how would we handle payments? Personally, I would prefer to stay with a third-party vendor. There are multiple vendors out there that can handle that, for the simple fact that I would not want the company to bear the liability of storing credit cards and then having the company being hacked and then people's personal information being threatened. Unfortunately, that's becoming more and more commonplace every day. That would be one way of us shifting the risk to a third-party vendor, so we don't have to worry about that. Along that lines, with the rest of the website, a few other things to consider is we would also have to go out and get a domain name, something that would be relevant. We would want to make sure that we keep that domain name at the top of any searches that a customer would use. I liken that to being above the fold for a newspaper. Same thing. People are more likely to take notice of people or companies that are at the top of a search on a regular basis than what they are to go digging through a long several pages of searches. The likelihood of that happening gets less and less the more they have to dig. Above and beyond everything else for the website, Three things: keep it simple, make it easy to use, and be able to capture a person's attention, draw them in, so we have people that stay with the website and continue to explore, not just hop on, they don't find what they're looking for in the first 2 or 3 clicks, and they're gone. We want to be able to come up with a website that draws people in, captures their attention. One of the metrics I'd like to be able to do month over month is increase our viewership and, more importantly, increase the length of time that they spend on the website as well. That tells us that we're keeping those folks longer, our information is relevant, and it gives them the desire to learn more about the company. This is just a short video for the interview. Again, I'd like to thank Chuck for the help with the questions that he gave me. I look forward to your comments. Thank you.